Welcome to our deep dive into Sustainability Live E 2024. We've got a ton of stuff to go over from the event. Articles, keynote speeches, panel discussions, the whole thing. But we want to make sure you get the most important stuff out of it and hopefully leave you ahead of the curve when it comes to all things sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much to unpack here. We'll try to break it all down into the key trends and takeaways and maybe spark some new ideas along the way.
So one of the things that really jumped out at me was just how important technology has become to sustainability.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You know, it's interesting how tech is kind of going from just being a tool to being like a fundamental part of the solution, like Microsoft, for instance.
Yeah.
Their goal is to be carbon negative by 2030.
Wow.
Which is, pretty ambitious on its own. But they're not stopping there. They're also looking at things like water management and biodiversity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're really trying to tackle the whole picture.
So it's not just about carbon, it's about the whole ecosystem.
Exactly.
That's incredible. And speaking of tech solutions, I was really interested in the discussion about using AI to potentially completely change how we do sustainability reporting.
Oh, yeah, that was really fascinating. Pedro Pereira from SAP talked about a future where AI could generate ESG reports, and they would be as reliable as, financial statements are today.
Wow.
Imagine if we had that kind of transparency and accuracy across the board.
That would be amazing.
It would totally change how we hold companies accountable for their impact.
For sure. So it's like we could actually finally track progress in a meaningful way.
Exactly.
That's a huge takeaway. But it's not all about fancy new tech, right? The conference also really highlighted the importance of energy efficiency.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You know, it's easy to get caught up in all the new gadgets and stuff, but energy efficiency is still so crucial.
Right.
Like Eric Labuda from ABB Motion Services said. He said, energy efficiency is not an option, it's a must.
I love that.
And the thing is, a lot of times it's not even about sacrificing anything. It's just about making things work better.
It's like that old saying, the greenest energy is the energy you don't use.
Exactly.
But how do we get everyone as excited about energy efficiency as they are about, the latest tech gadgets?
Well, that's where communication comes in. Kevin Dunkley from HH Global, he made a really good point about how important it is to tell stories about sustainability that people can relate to.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
He said, if you can't explain it to someone in a bar in 60 seconds, it's too complicated.
Uh-huh. I love that.
Right.
It's so true.
We need to ditch the jargon and make sustainability something that, everyone can understand and actually act on.
Totally. So it's about making it personal, relatable, and actionable.
Exactly.
Okay, so moving on. Let's talk about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is becoming a really important part of the sustainability conversation.
Absolutely.
And for good reason.
Yeah. It's really encouraging to see companies like Carlsberg taking a leadership role here.
Oh, yeah, they were a great example.
Their global head of DEI, Julie Fulmer-Niemann, she talked about how they're using data to actually drive progress on DEI. They have a guidebook. They have a roadmap. They're moving from good intentions to measurable impact.
That's great. So they're not just talking the talk. They're actually walking the walk.
Exactly.
And I love that they're recognizing that a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work for DEI.
Yeah, that's really important. They're encouraging localized solutions because, different regions and cultures have different needs and challenges.
It's about empowering people on the ground to find solutions that work for their specific context.
Exactly.
That's smart. Okay, so all of this amazing work that companies are doing needs to be tracked and reported on. Which brings us to the wonderful world of sustainability reporting.
Right. And there was a really interesting panel discussion in London about this. It was all about finding the right balance between sustainability and responsibility when it comes to reporting.
So it's not just about ticking boxes.
No, not at all. It's about being transparent and actually using those reports to drive real change.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah.
Walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Yeah, definitely. Ellen McCormack from Watershed had a great quote. She said, "You can't reduce what you can't measure."
That's so true.
It really highlights how important data is to making real progress on sustainability.
If you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
Exactly.
But it sounds like there was also an understanding that this whole reporting thing is a journey.
Oh, for sure. It's not like you have to be perfect on day one. Garrett Quinn from Smurfit Westrock said it really well. He said, sustainability reporting is an ongoing journey. It's about progress, not perfection.
That's a good point. It's like take a deep breath. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
But sustainability reporting isn't just about the environment, is it?
You're right. It's about more than just the E. Ryan Kelly from National Grid brought up a really important point about the S in ESG.
Oh, yes, the social aspects.
Exactly. She's actually super involved in National Grid's Responsible Business Charter, which is a great example of taking a more holistic approach to sustainability. It's not just about the planet, it's about people and fairness, too.
I love that she brought that up. It's a good reminder that sustainable business should be about more than just the environment. It should be about creating a more just and equitable world for everyone.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about the importance of tech, energy efficiency, DEI, and sustainability reporting. But let's be real for a second. There are some pretty big and scary challenges out there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So how do we even begin to tackle those?
Well, Terrence Jarrettnom from EY had some interesting thoughts on this.
Oh, yeah, he gave that great talk about the link between climate change and inequality.
Right. He talked about this conflict of perception versus reality. Like, we might not be fully grasping the social impacts of climate change.
It's like we need to look beyond the surface and dig into those deeper systemic issues.
Exactly.
And it's not just about the environmental impacts either.
Right.
It's about thinking about who's most affected by climate change.
Yeah, he really challenged us to think about who's actually bearing the brunt of unsustainable practices.
It's a reminder that sustainability and social justice are deeply interconnected.
Absolutely.
We can't solve one without addressing the other.
And it's not just up to governments or big corporations either.
Right.
We all have a role to play.
This brings me to another point. Thinking about the role of businesses, it seems like they need to start looking beyond their own direct impact.
Oh, absolutely. Like Capucine Dordain-Genet from Schneider Electric, she talked about the importance of Scope 3 emissions.
The Scope 3 emissions.
You know, those are the emissions that happen throughout a company's supply chain, not just from their own operations. So things like purchased goods and services, business travel, waste disposal.
Got it.
And get this, for Schneider Electric, Scope 3 emissions make up like 90% of their company's footprint.
Wow, 90%.
Yeah, it's a huge chunk.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's not enough for companies to just focus on their own operations.
Nope. They need to think about their entire supply chain.
And it sounds like more and more companies are starting to do this.
Definitely. There's this growing trend of companies really embedding sustainability into their core DNA, making it part of their culture, not just a side project.
It's like it needs to be woven into the very fabric of how they do business.
Exactly. And Irene Ituimu from Sellafield, she was really passionate about this. She said that every level of the organization needs to take responsibility for sustainability, from the CEO all the way down to the newest employee.
So it can't just be the sustainability department's job.
Right. It needs to be everyone's job.
Okay, so it seems like we're seeing a real shift towards a more holistic and integrated approach to sustainability.
I think so. It's not just about reducing carbon emissions anymore. It's about considering the social and economic impacts as well, using data to actually make progress, and weaving sustainability into everything we do.
And crucially, communicating all of this in a way that actually resonates with people.
Oh, yeah, that's key. We need to make sustainability relatable and understandable for everyone.
Exactly. But honestly, I feel like we've only scratched the surface here.
Yeah, there's so much more to talk about.
There's so much to explore.
Let's dive into some more of these themes.
Let's do it.
One thing that really stood out to me at Sustainability LV was this idea of collaboration. Like, it seemed like every discussion kept coming back to this idea of working together to solve these problems.
Yeah, totally. It's like everyone's realizing that no one company or organization can do this alone. We need to join forces if we really want to make a difference.
Exactly. Like that panel discussion in London about balancing sustainability and responsibility. They had executives from all these different industries, data centers, packaging, telecommunications, but they were all asking the same questions and trying to find solutions together.
That's really cool. It's like, even though they're in totally different businesses, they can still learn from each other. When it comes to sustainability.
Right. And it wasn't just about the environmental stuff either. There was a lot of talk about the social aspects of sustainability, too.
Yeah, the S in ESG.
Exactly. Like, how do we make sure that the transition to a low-carbon economy is fair so no one gets left behind?
Yeah, that's really important. We can't just focus on saving the planet without thinking about the people on it.
Totally. And remember Ellen McCormack's quote, "You can't reduce what you can't measure."
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
It just highlights how important data is to all of this. We need to be able to track our impact accurately so we can hold ourselves accountable.
Data is like the fuel for the sustainability engine.
Exactly.
But it's not about being perfect from the start.
No, not at all. Remember what Garrett Quinn said? He said, Sustainability reporting is an ongoing journey. It's about progress, not perfection.
It's a process of continuous improvement. So
Exactly.
it's okay to make mistakes along the way
As long as we're learning from them.
and using that knowledge to do better next time. But measurement and reporting are just the starting point.
Yeah,
Ultimately, we need to turn that data into action.
absolutely.
And that's where innovation comes in.
Yeah, for sure. It's not just about coming up with cool new technologies. It's about finding creative solutions to these really complex problems.
So whether that's new business models, policy changes, or even just a shift in mindset,
Exactly.
it's about challenging the status quo
Yeah.
and thinking outside the box.
I love how Irene Atoimu from Sellafield put it. She said, innovation is not just a technology.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It's about being willing to experiment and even fail sometimes.
But learning from those failures,
Right.
I think that's so important.
We need to embrace failure as part of the process.
If we're not pushing boundaries and taking risks, are we really innovating?
Exactly.
Thinking back on it, Sustainability Live itself was like a huge learning opportunity.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There was so much valuable information there.
From the latest advancements in climate tech to the importance of storytelling and collaboration.
There was something there for everyone.
And it wasn't just a big corporate event. There was a real focus on individual responsibility, too, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I like that too.
It's a good reminder that we all had a role to play in creating a more sustainable future.
Absolutely.
It's not just up to the big companies.
It's about making conscious choices in our everyday lives.
From the food we eat, to the clothes we wear, to the way we travel, every decision we make has an impact.
And it's also about using our voices to advocate for change.
Right.
Whether that's talking to our friends and family, supporting businesses that are doing good, or even contacting our elected officials.
We can all be sustainability superheroes.
Exactly.
So as we're wrapping up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
what are some key takeaways that you hope our listeners are walking away with?
Well, first of all, I hope they're feeling energized and inspired by all the incredible work that's happening in this space.
It's clear that there's a real movement happening here
Yeah, it's not just talk anymore. People are actually taking action.
and making a real difference.
And that's what makes this so exciting. It's not just about mitigating the negative. It's about creating something positive.
It's about reimagining the way we live and work.
And interact with our planet,
And it's about recognizing that we're all in this together.
no matter who we are or what we do. We all have a part to play.
Absolutely. And speaking of getting involved, I wanted to remind our listeners about something really exciting.
Oh yeah, the Sustainability Levy events next year.
Yes, I know it's a bit early, but mark your calendars.
They've got events planned all over the world.
Malta, Singapore, Dubai, Chicago, London. They're even doing a special one focused on DEI.
You can find all the details on the Sustainability Magazine website.
Awesome. And if you're feeling really ambitious,
They're also accepting entries for the Global Sustainability and ESG Awards.
so whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting your sustainability journey, there's a way for you to get involved
And be a part of this movement.
and to keep learning and growing.
Because that's what it's all about. Continuous improvement. And a commitment to making a difference.
Well said. So that wraps up our look at the collaboration and action that defines Sustainability Live 2024. But there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to explore.
Oh, you mean the relationship between sustainability and inequality?
Exactly. It's a complex and important topic that we can't ignore. This is where things get really interesting. This whole idea of how sustainability and inequality are connected. Terrence Jarrett-Nam's talk really got me thinking.
Oh, yeah. The one where he talked about the conflict of perception versus reality.
Right. It's like we might think we understand the social impacts of climate change,
Yeah.
but he's saying there's a lot more to it.
He made a good point about how population growth is higher in poorer countries. And that puts a lot of strain on resources,
Right.
which can lead to environmental
It's like a
damage.
vicious cycle.
Ugh.
Poverty leads to environmental problems,
Yeah.
which then just makes the poverty worse.
Exactly.
It's kind of heartbreaking. And he didn't shy away from the tough questions either, like he asked. Who's really benefiting from the way things are now? Who's being left behind? And what responsibility do we all have?
Yeah, it was a powerful talk.
It's a good reminder that sustainability isn't just about protecting the planet. It's about social justice, too.
We can't solve one without addressing the other.
It's about creating a world where everyone has a chance to thrive.
Not just a select few.
And that means thinking about the needs of the most vulnerable communities.
Both now and in the future.
It seems like we need to broaden our perspective on sustainability.
Oh, definitely.
It's not just an environmental issue.
It's a social and economic issue as well.
We need to be asking some tough questions,
About our economic systems, about who benefits, and who gets left out.
and ultimately about how we create a future that's fair and sustainable for everyone.
It's not easy.
But it's a conversation we need to be having.
We need to be willing to listen to each other, learn from different perspectives, and work together to find solutions.
Yeah, collaboration is key. Well, this has been a really fascinating deep dive. I feel like we've covered so much ground,
Yeah, we've learned a lot.
but I'm also feeling inspired, seeing how many people are working to create a better future.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to do, but there's also a lot of hope.
Absolutely. So to our listeners, don't wait for the next Sustainability Live Eve to get involved. You can make a difference right now.
Start by learning more about these issues. Talk to your friends and family. Support businesses that are doing good things.
Every little bit helps.
And remember, stay curious, keep learning, never stop asking questions.
Because the journey towards a sustainable future is a long one.
And we're all in this together.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.